Good to be seen.
And we're seeing someone else as well. We don't have Anya, but we do have John Scott with us. Hey, John.
Hello.
And for our viewers, can you just give a bit of a background about you, John, please?
Okay, then, right. Very, very quickly, because my career's taken a really weird path. I too trained to be a teacher, an English and drama teacher, but realised at the end of my course, I could not stand being in the staff room for the next 45 years. So I went off to art school and studied costumes. So from then on, I went to work in theatre as a costume pattern maker and a costume maker. Then I became a costume supervisor. Worked in different theatres around the country, went into the West End, then got headhunted by a company called 20th Century Costumes, where we supplied costumes for film and TV, and they were nearly all original clothes. Then from there, I went to New York to run their New York office, came back, got headhunted by ITV to do the costume supervising on Poirot with David Suchet, and then did a few TV shows. And then somebody I worked with in TV was doing a Robin Williams film, asked me to go on to that. So I then went into the heady world of Hollywood films. Wow. So you may have seen my name at the end of 3 James Bond films, Notting Hill, 4 Weddings, Tomb Raider, Interview with the Vampire, all kind of movies like that. Then one day I got a call to go on Mitch and Judy to talk about the Bond costumes. And I went in for one day and stayed for 10 years, left the film industry, was only going to stay there for a year, wow. Stayed for 10 years. Then after that, I moved up north and went to work on a shopping channel, originally selling very expensive jewellery. And now I'm on a sewing street. I was Sewing Quarter and now I'm on Sewing Street. So a lot of you might know me from there, where I am the face of Sewing Street. And that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, thank you very much. And Sewing Street is actually from how I got in contact with you and found you. And you were doing your Sewing Bee chats too, like what we do. You do your own one.
Yeah, except I just sit here waffling. I don't have this technology and editing and things like that. I literally sit with my piece of paper.
Oh, show us your lolly sticks as well. I love them.
Pictures and things like that, and just gossip for an hour. That's all we do.
Well, it's very similar here. We just talk about what we love. We all love crafting and sewing, don't we?
Yes.
So, and we love the Sewing Bee. I know in past episodes on here and maybe on yours, we do sometimes rant a bit and we pick at it. We may some may say you overanalyze it, and some may say, why do you even watch it then if you moan that much? But we're so passionate about it, aren't we? We do love the program.
Well, we loved it till last night.
Well, there we are. Perfect entry into week 8, the quarter final.
Hang on. Are you not glossing over the fact that I've made the effort tonight?
I was just about to say that. Music of the movies.
So I've gone for the disco look tonight.
I've gone for Studio 54.
Yeah, and I've got a lovely marabou collar with a lovely puffball sleeve on a dress that's a little bit too tight, but we've managed to squeeze in, ready for our 70s disco night.
So yes. What have you come as, Stuart, then? What's your costume?
The doorman.
Well, I think even that's pushing it.
I didn't get the memo. You look great for the part, which is brilliant, because it was music of the movies, varied movies, but the first one for the pattern challenge was inspired by Dirty Dancing. It was that dress.
But it wasn't though, was it? Because it wasn't inspired, because for once they were given, well, I know they're always given the same pattern, but they were also given the same material. They had to use the chiffon and the silks and the lace, and there was no, oh, do what you like, add a little fleece on here. Finally, it was flat judging. Everyone was in the same position.
Yeah,
I'm totally agreeing with you.
Should we have had that more in the pattern challenges of previous episodes, do you think?
When we get onto the transformation, I'd like to butt in on that one, because I think there should be more level. We should see their creativity, we should see their sewing skills, but we should have a part of the show which is, what did you just call it, level playing field, where they all have the same thing to do.
Okay, so it was a circle skirt. A whopping 28 pieces. John, tell us about that, as in, that's a huge pattern, isn't it?
No. As I watched it, I was thinking, he's going to say, you've got 24 hours to make this, because it kind of, when he started saying it's a satin dress with darts, with an overlay, with lace, with this, with that, I thought, they're never going to do this in 4.5 hours. I wouldn't attempt it in 4.5 hours, definitely not.
It had something ridiculous. Didn't it have over 20 pieces or what? When they did the little animation, it just seemed to flop, 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 and I was like, no.
So, I know that the 28 pattern pieces, that the issue of time is going to come up, and we'll go straight into it then, because I feel Damien and Fari came up with that time because of who finished.
Yeah. But the thing is, I also want to know, before we get into the timing thing, how did they finish any of the scenes? Because I've made a dress like that for Oklahoma in the ballet sequence before, and all the seams had to be French seamed. All the chiffon seams were French seams and everything. Did they just do a raw edge seam down the...
I think they were using the overlocker, weren't they? For
it was an overlock and simple turn hem.
For the hem, but what about the seams running down the side of the chiffon?
Didn't say.
Wow. You know, we don't get to see those.
No. But I do think, it was, in all fairness to all the contestants, way too short a time for them to make a decent frock. Actually, before we go to theirs, the orange thing that was on the stand, the one that they had to sample, was awful. Yeah. It was dreadful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think I sent you a message, didn't I, last night, saying even half an hour longer. I mean, like you say, 24 hours would have been brilliant. Yeah. But I think, you know, even if you went to 5.5 hours, I don't think that's unreasonable when the transformation challenge is 90 minutes. It wasn't like the day was going to overrun and filming was going to go on till midnight.
But and also, there's enough skills and processes to be judged on. So even if they had 7 or 8 hours, they're not still going to create the same garment, are they?
No.
So
let's go into each person then. Let's start with no particular order, just the way I've written them down. Damien.
Right. Well, I like Damien's, the red one. He hadn't got his hems done, but I don't think that's the worst thing. Right. The thing about Damien that got me very angry, not about him, about the judging, is if you're making a frock for a show or something like that, and they want to lap zip, or lap, whatever they called it, wrap over zip. Yeah. If you're not going to get it done in time, then put it in the way you know how to put it in, so that at least it'll go on your actress, or at least it'll go on your model. Not, oh, I didn't have time to do your type of zip. And it was so neat at the bottom. It was beautifully put in the bottom.
Compared to the others, yeah. And I think that was the thing, is what do? Do you present an unfinished dress, which I'm sorry, but you know, Fari was there again, or do you put it in like you've just said, John? It went in, and his was the only one whose zip was lovely and neat. Everyone else's had buckled at the bottom.
Exactly.
And we'll talk about the placements at the same time, because Fari and Damien, Fari was 4th, Damien was 5th, but Fari's was unfinished. So how did Damien come 5th then?
Because he's not a favourite.
Well, yeah.
I didn't miss it. Unless we missed something else out. Did we?
Well, the other thing is, as you say, they have got it was 4.5 hour challenge, wasn't it? And they'll have had other filming time, like Vox Pops and everything like that. So there's an awful lot. We saw about 15 minutes of it, if that. We don't know what else was said. It's in the hands of the editors and the director, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's go on then to Fari, because we've just touched on to her with her dress. I texted, I think, both of you at one point. I didn't see her in the edit much of this round.
That's always the worry. I mean, I know we watch this show to watch the whole programme, but after, and I mean, I've watched it right from the start, but these more recent series, we've come to learn the edit of the program, and the worrying thing was we were not seeing Fari. It didn't matter that her dress was going wrong, and we weren't seeing her in the edit, which then you kind of already knew by 10 minutes into the program she wasn't going to go home, because if she was going home, she'd have been in the edit with everything going wrong. And
that's why I thought Rebecca was going to go yesterday, because she was in it constantly, wasn't she? Right from the word go, and I was like, oh, and she kept going on about winning, got to win, I've got to win. And so in my brain, I thought, in the editing, oh, she's off, because that's what the way we've learned that they edit the show, isn't it?
Fari had the perfect bodice, they said, during the judging.
Yeah, neat bodice, yeah.
But the rest was not so good. Was that right?
Yeah. Yeah. She just took too long again, didn't she? For something she's never made before, she fusses over it a bit too much at the beginning. She doesn't just get down and do it. And if I knew I had to make that dress in 4.5 hours, there'd have been no messing around. I would have been straight down that cutting table, cutting it, sewing it, not talking to anybody, just literally, and not fannying around with, you know, kind of, oh, shall I do this? Shall I do that?
Yeah.
Shall I read this bit first or whatever? And you just have to sit down and get on with it.
You know, that's the issue. And I don't dislike Fari as a... Oh, I don't know any of these people. I don't dislike her as a person. I think she's been a victim of the edit and a victim of the judges this season. And sometimes you have to say that actually, through what they're doing, they're making her into the villain that the public are going to go, why is she always staying in? At the end of the day, fundamentally, not just this week, but in other episodes, she's had unfinished garments when everyone else, it might not be quite perfect, but they finished. And it's like, how long do you let that go on? And like I say, that is not because I dislike Fari, but what's going to end up happening if she survives next week as well and makes the final, she's going to come out as the person everyone's going, I don't know how she's got to the final. I definitely don't want her to win. And that's not her fault. No. That's the way she's been treated. And really, for someone who has had so many unfinished garments, where you draw the line and say, this is not the type of sewer we want in the final.
On my chat this morning, because I do mine in the morning of the next morning after the show, and a lot of the ladies were saying, if the marking system was different, it was a cumulative, how do I say it? English teacher? Yeah, that one. Yeah. If it was that, then you'd see, because she'd have to get lower marks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She doesn't finish anything, even though some of the things she does make are exquisite, and she'll win because it's all judged on the last dress, isn't it, basically? So if it was adding it up as it went along, she would have been out ages ago because she had so many unfinished dresses. And someone said this morning, if you add up how many unfinished things she had and how many unfinished things Damien had, then Damien should have stayed over her.
Yeah. And not to drag too much of it, because I'm on half term at the moment, and although it's glorious sunshine outside, I did manage to get myself sunburnt on Monday, which meant Tuesday I was inside. So I went back onto iPlayer because they've now uploaded all previous series of the Sewing Bee. And I mean, I've watched it right from the start, but I just wanted that nostalgic look and went and watched the first series because it's only 4 episodes. And I think it was the second episode in, somebody hadn't finished a garment. And I know it's different. I know it was May and it was still Patrick back then. But the first thing they both said is, a fundamental thing is, you've not finished the garment. So therefore, how can you go forward? You are out. Yeah. And it was just like, and then you look back at that, which I know was a long time ago, but it was just kind of like, yeah. And now we've got someone who is repeatedly unfinished, who's now in the semi-finals, quarter semi-finals, yeah.
And clearly they used her bodice that was perfect to counter the rest not being finished and therefore giving 4th and then Damien 5th.
But would you go back and buy another slice of cake if the top tier was lovely, but the bottom tier, I don't know, tasted of old tea bags? You wouldn't, would you?
No.
The whole thing's got to look and taste right.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer, sorry, but at the beginning of the series, you'd let them go away with thinking all nervous, but we are week 8.
Indeed.
And she should know now that she has 4.5 hours and it means 4.5 hours, and you don't do it and then cry. Do you know what I mean? You've got to get on and do it.
And that's where I respect Damien, because he did make that comment. It'd be good to have you've got to have a finished garment. You've got to have a finished garment. Yeah. I looked at the judging. I went back and had a sneak peek today to see what actually Patrick said when Damien was 5th. He said, you're 5th, mostly because the zip was wrong.
But the zip was in, and it was better than anyone else's.
And better than anyone else's, yeah.
Patrick then said it was close between the two of you, but Damien, you were 5th, and Fari 4th. Right, let's go for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd then. So 3rd place was Raf with his purple, lovely colour.
I hated the colour.
Oh, maroon. I
it was burgundy. Purple. It wasn't purple. What's wrong with you?
Plus, I've got the pictures.
Must be the eyes then.
Yeah.
What did we think?
Well, I was so gutted for him because literally as he was going, oh, there's 5 minutes left, I'm looking at him like, he's got no lace. He's got no lace on. Everything else looks fine. He's got no lace.
No, because he hadn't done a hem, had he, or something either?
He hadn't
Oh,
done
he
the
had a
hem.
really uneven hem, didn't he?
But I think no, because his overlocker had cut out at the last minute, hadn't
That's
it?
right, that's right.
And it was, and you think, and they did kind of forgive him for that, and that's when you just thought, oh my god, but he didn't have any lace.
But were they just doing an overlocking around the bottom, or were they doing a rolled hem using their overlocker?
They did an overlocked hem on the underskirt, and then they did a rolled hem on.
Okay, because I couldn't see.
Which is why he ran out. I think. Oh, it didn't run out. It just jammed with like 5-10 minutes to spare, and they couldn't get it unjammed.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think he appeared much in the edit until then. He wasn't really looked at.
No.
No. But he wasn't going to go, was he? Really, based on that.
No.
We did.
But he was not going to go anyway because he's a favourite.
I know.
But
Well, he's our favourite. I do worry sometimes with the judges.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Rebecca then. She took a lot of airtime, got a lot of focus, and this play between Rebecca and Serena was certainly started to be developed a bit more, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I think the editors on purpose kept putting it in so she looked like a little, not nasty, but as though she had an edge to her. Whereas before she's been the little demure northern girl, and suddenly there was this edge like, I am going to win, I want to win, I've come second to Serena, I've always come second to Serena.
Yes, it was that kept reappearing, wasn't it? The challenge between the two. But let's talk about her Rebecca's dress then. She struggled with the zip a bit, I think, so the judges said.
Well, they all did, really, didn't they? But I didn't like the lace. I'm sorry, I didn't. Her lace was too big.
I thought that was the only decent bit on it.
Well, I like the lace, yes.
Yeah,
at one point, I thought she'd ripped down a net curtain and was trying to attach too much to it.
No, but if you look at
right.
it again, when her model steps forward, or when the dress comes forward, Patrick says, "Oh, this is really, really good," and then Esme goes, "Shoulder doesn't match, zip's not right, hem's not right." So then he suddenly went, "Oh yeah, you're right," and I was like. Hang on, how can it be a really good effort? And then Esme says that, and suddenly it's not.
Well, it comes back to a couple of episodes ago where I felt the judges didn't really want to be critical of Rebecca, maybe because she's younger. I don't know. They just felt they didn't want to be as harsh. I think that was a classic case there.
Yeah, maybe.
And then Serena with her blue. She's used to satin from the previous week.
Yeah.
Like the colour?
Yes, but not the black lace.
Yeah, I think we all, and even she said she realised that the red lace was wrong. I can understand it was trying to make a bit more of a statement, but it should have melted more into it should have been a paler blue.
But
what colour was it then? On my telly, it looked black. Was it red?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was navy or black, but it was definitely in that kind of spectrum.
Yeah, I think it was navy.
Yeah.
But the judges clearly were cooing all over her skills on that finished make.
The thing is, she is the best sewer.
Yeah. There's
no doubt about that. She is down far and beyond the best sewer in that room.
So which is not surprising, but I mean, she is. I can't remember now from the first episode, but she's still really, well, everyone's young now compared to us, but she's still young, isn't she? She's one of the youngest ones in there. And to be that good, she deserved all the praise she got for that one.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
Considering the difficulty of that. So Serena first, Rebecca second, Raf third, Fari fourth, Damien fifth. Let's go into the transformation challenge then. The Sound of Music, curtains.
Well, I'm sure we've had curtains before, but
we have, but that doesn't matter, does it? Because
my point being is, though, they seem to flat refuse to do anything else that we've ever done before.
Yeah.
Trying to find some random, weird, foreign dress from something we've never heard about, just to give them a strange pattern challenge. But suddenly we can do the curtain challenge, which obviously did fit with the Sound of Music. I'd have preferred more Gone with the Wind, but there you go. But you know, it fitted with that challenge. But it just is like, well, if you're gonna use the curtain one again, then you know, get them to make a shirt. Well, they made a shirt last week, didn't they? But you know, a dress shirt, or you know, men's trousers and that, which they've all done in the past. It doesn't hurt to recycle some of those ideas.
No, exactly.
But it was something more that we could do ourselves, which is what we've always said about the transformation challenge. It's got a bit out of hand, isn't it? But whereas actually you can have a pair of trousers, curtains lying around, you can transform them into something.
Exactly. And I just think I think it's the only transformation challenge I actually agreed with. I hated all of them. The one where they had 6 pairs of swimming trunks to make a ball gown or whatever they did. You was like, you're never going to do that. And then that week they cut up all those beautiful tweed jackets. But the recycling on that is give them to people who can't afford a jacket, not cut them up and make something weird and wacky with it. But I like, this is the only transformation challenge I like.
Regular viewers will know my disdain for the transformation challenge, but like you, John, this was the right thing. You know, it's a curtain, and they were only given one. That was the thing. Whereas before it's like, oh, take 5, take 10, do whatever you like. Where this was, you've got one curtain, and again, it was that level playing field. You know, we're just choosing, really, I mean, I presume they came straight from the 80s looking at those designs. But it was, if you want me to agree to a transformation challenge, this was the one. I'm with John on this one.
No, I'm totally with you. This is where I think they shouldn't have a transformation challenge, because it's a sewing show, not a design show. So this is the one where I think that they all have a concealed zip and a piece of satin, and they're all given 20 minutes to put a zip in satin. Off. Yes, so and something the viewers at home will learn, so they can say, this is how you're meant to do a concealed zip. This is how you're meant to do a box pleat skirt. This is how you're meant to. So that each week it's a challenge that they have, and we learn from it.
Yeah. And then you compare and contrast the finishing images. Yeah. You can see, oh, you're just about out here, or this didn't go in here. And then, as you say, the learning process. Yeah. Okay, let's go into it then. Damien, same running order. Damien first with his little shorts and braces, or what they're called lederhosen.
They weren't quite lederhosen, were they? They were almost. But I was worried for him, because he seemed to be going completely wrong, and then all of a sudden it seemed to pull together, and then he actually ended up with something that works. I don't know why they felt the need to test the strength of the poppers. You didn't see them unzipping everyone else's and checking that the zips didn't fall out. But, you know, the construction of it was fine. It looked absolutely fine. It wasn't unfinished. Although none of them were, but no, hang on, Farry's wasn't it? But you know, he went from I don't really know what I'm doing to actually then pulling off something that was half decent.
Well, he changed his mind, didn't he, halfway through? Didn't he start off doing something else, then suddenly went, oh, I'm just going to do lederhosen?
I think he was doing a full play suit, and then he decided that he was going to just go for the lederhosen.
Right, now, what was your reaction to when Joe asked Rebecca to help him with a play suit? Do you think her initial reaction was what she really felt?
I think it probably was. Mind you, I'd be the same.
No, but I think she had that yesterday. She had the
blinkers on. She wanted to win.
I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Exactly. Yeah. Not in a bad way. I think we all. No. That's a good, ambitious thing to have. But when it came out of her mouth a bit too quickly, didn't it? Like, I'm not giving any secrets away. And then she went, "Oh, Damien, if you need any help, I'm here." And it's like, no, it's all right. Thanks,
too late now, you said it.
Let's remember the brief as well. The brief was to make a practical play outfit. And I think that's good to remember, because some of them, you could argue, how practical were they? Let's move on to Raf's then. John, what do you think of his yellow and green?
I didn't mind it, but I hated the why did you put fringing on it? Why did you have the fringing around the hem? It just looked like a blob to me. I mean, obviously we don't get to see it close to, but it just looked a bit blob-like. It didn't look like it had any form or any shape to it.
What about the use of the top of the curtain for that?
Yeah, I can understand why he was doing that, but I also then thought, knowing how a curtain works, I was like, that's not gonna work if it was an actual place.
A practical play suit, yes.
Yes.
Also, if they got them from a charity shop, think of all the dirt in the pleats of those.
No, that's understandable. Let's move on to Serena with her.
Oh, I loved hers.
Clot style, is that right?
It was very kimono-esque.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And I loved that. It was very kind of almost Tibetan or something like that, wasn't it? It had that lovely braid, very simple braid. And I mean, a child's not meant to play in it, but I thought it was the nicest. Yeah. I thought it was the nicest one of all of them.
I think the braid was a perfect thing to make it stand out. It just put that nice kind of almost picture framed everything within the outfit, and that's what made it then stand out. Whereas Raf's, because he put the yellow or greenish fringing onto that yellow and green, everything got lost. It was good sewing, but it just got lost. Yeah. Whereas the contrast, that really popped that out for Serena.
Yeah. And she also did the applique on the front, didn't she? She cut out a motif and appliqued it at the front. I really liked hers. But again, would you put a child in like a kimono sleeve to play? You know what I mean?
All the dirt hanging down there.
I suppose they have to think about their skills that they show. So do you think Raf was thinking, right, I've not perhaps shown enough skills off, so I will go to the haberdashery and raid something and shove it on?
I couldn't remember whether they had to put something on or not, because they all seem to do something. But then the other thing with Raf's is, of course, when we had the old cutaways, Esme and Patrick huddled in the corner, you know, Esme was saying that she wanted them to use the ribbing and everything like that. So that's when you just think, do you want them to make a practical play suit? Do you want them to use the ribbing and the design feature? Well, there is no design feature on a curtain other than that ribbing.
Yeah.
I thought they'd have had a lot more fun if they'd had those big eyelet ones that are very popular these days.
Well, remember this where we had that chat with Janet last year. She said that they get the brief, but they don't hear the bit that they talk about when they're in the corner huddling. The actual brief was the practical play outfit must include a short or a trouser and some sort of button, zip, or strap. That's all it was.
So they all filled it. They all did it.
Yeah. Rebecca with her skort. Clever idea?
I think it was clever in that it did fool.
Said it all there.
No, I think that it fooled the judges, didn't it? Because, of course, the brief was shorts. And I think they did walk in and go, hang on a minute, somebody's made a skirt. So it kind of caught them out in that respect. Whether that's the sort of thing if she plays netball in something that looks like that, then she's not got a lot of movement there, has she? Because it was a very long skirt for it to be skorts, or, you know.
But it was a skirt over the top of shorts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's not a skort. A skort is a skirt. It's a pair of trousers that looks like a skirt. It's not two separate things.
Oh.
No.
A skort is like a pleated, like either pleated or gathered fabric. So when you stand still, like culottes, but much, much wider. So it looks like a skirt. When you actually run, it's just a pair of trousers. It's not a separate skirt over trousers.
Well, there you go.
Learn something today.
I don't know where I've got that from, but there.
And then let's move on to Fari with her shouldery things, the frills.
Well, she made the shoulders before, hadn't she, for her children?
Which you can't blame her for using the skills she's already got. But given that she had made it before, how did it end up looking like it had done 10 rounds of Tyson?
She tried to be clever as well and use the pleats, didn't she? And you can't sew over pleats they're going to have rufflet tape in them, aren't they? Onto something else with a domestic machine like that.
Whose was your favourite that round, John, then?
Out of that round, I like Serena's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Serena and Raf's colours weren't very good, but I think Serena and Raf's were, you know, in terms of the design-wise and that, were better than the other three.
Do you think Serena was actually way above? Because Serena was first, Rebecca second. Same standings. You think that she was a lot higher than the others? Yeah.
Well, I think it's because her actual making skills are better than the others. It might not have been perfect for a child to play in, but it was beautifully made.
Yeah,
good point. So Serena first, Rebecca second, Raf third, Damien fourth, Fari fifth. The same standings, but fourth and fifth have changed. So we're going into the made to measure. Feeling what at this point were you feeling, John?
I wanted Rebecca to make a huge mistake and to be got rid of. But I knew that wouldn't happen. But I was
thinking about Damien.
I was thinking by then, because, and then he said that as soon as he said, "Oh, I've got some lovely upholstery fabric," I was like, I'm a great believer in using fabrics that aren't meant for, you know, like a juxtaposition or oxymoron. But I knew that a silky or you weren't going to get away with furniture fabric for that, upholstery fabric for that.
So you kind of thought that's it, he was going to go. Ting, what about you?
I think I'd text you and just said that I don't think Damien stands a chance on two fronts, in that he hadn't done too well in that, but also the judges seem to have gone for him this week, even though he wasn't as bad as perhaps they made out. And it was just that idea that I don't think, even if he had made, before we knew what he was going to do, I think, because he's always managed to pull it out of the bag for this one, because I think he is one of the few sewers who practices what he does. And you know, there was an element of like, well, hang on a minute, in other weeks people have pulled it out of the bag, and if he could do that. But I took one look at his design, and then, like John says, and then he's described the fabric, and I was just like, oh, Damien, I'm going to make a cup of tea now, and I might go to bed because I kind of know what's going to happen.
Right, let's move on to the made-to-measure. The 1970s disco dress.
Yes, disco dress.
Sequins and lame all appeared. John, what did you feel about what they were going to have to make? Were you excited about it? Oh yeah, come on, we're going to see some fabulous things.
I was really excited about it. And also at the beginning, they showed clips of different people on the catwalk, and I'd seen a smid, and I said it to you in the text, whoever's made that one with the gold swirl through it, as in the red sequin and the gold sequin, because on the clip at the beginning, it looked magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And I was like, and as soon as they started wafting their fabric, I thought, oh, Serena's won it straight away. So I was all excited. Then I watched her making it, and I was like, oh, actually, that doesn't, I mean, she made it right, she made it correctly, but it didn't look like it was actually a good pattern. Not her, it wasn't her sewing. I don't think her sewing was at fault. I just don't think it was a good pattern.
I think, and you know, I mean, I'm sat here in my obviously wonderful fitted number, but like this, she had a bit of bagging, didn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of my old panto dresses, so I'm missing some fake items under here, which is why it's a bit baggy. But you know, there was this full. When they finally went and judged it, it was like, oh, hang on a minute, there is a little bit of bagging there.
It was hanging. It was hanging. It should have been like that. It should have been a second skin almost, shouldn't it? That a dress like that should have been a sheath dress that fitted, and just that swirl of sequins. Yeah.
I mean, I was only just met the 70s when I was born, but you know, like you say, when you see back at the 70s stuff on Top of the Pops and things like that, you know, the disco, the lame, the sequins, the fitted, you know, like you say, a second skin. And we didn't really get that with any of them. Although Raf's, I did like Raf's being different, being a trouser suit sort of thing, trouser thing. But it was kind of like, hang on a minute, I thought we were going to a disco, and I don't know how many of those would have.
Well, that's where I got a bit confused. Are we going for a disco dress, or are we going for a show where a pop singer stands and sings? Doesn't move?
I think that's where the confusion came in, because they did say it's Dreamgirls, and they showed all Dreamgirls, but then they went to Studio 54, didn't they? And you're like, well, actually, what are you? That's two completely different things. Yes, the Dreamgirls went through into the 70s and everything, but that's not the same story. Going to Studio, like I'm in the different story to Ting. You know, Ting's a dream girl, and I'm at Studio 54 with Bianca Jagger and Liza Minnelli and everything. You know what I mean? Different story.
And that's the trouble when you get the old inspired by line again, isn't it? Because they said inspired by the Dreamgirls like once, but then went on and on and on about a disco dress and how it had to be this and that, and it was just like, you know, sorry, the cat has decided to put an appearance. It was just kind of, what are they supposed to be doing? And I know we started off talking about Serena's there, but I then just felt that Rebecca's, it wasn't, I couldn't see someone going out to a disco in that dress.
Well,
couldn't compare.
Your look says it all, John.
The thing is, though, I've made several party dresses of what she was trying to establish in hers. I understand she was trying to get the sheath, then she was trying to get the fishtail, and she was trying to get the shimmer, but her fabrics were wrong, and it looked like, to me, it looked like a cheap polyester, no offense now, Ting, panto costume. That's what it looked like, and not even a high quality panto like yours.
I'm sweating buckets in this thing here.
But just things like, why didn't you put some net underneath the fishtail at the bottom, or have another layer of the fabric? Because it kind of went down, then just dropped. It just dropped down.
The thing is, John, you know, like we talk about the panto dress, which is what I've got here, but it's all of those secrets that you use on those panto dresses to get the padding and the bulk and the weight, so that it moves and it shifts around.
Yeah.
And although they hated the hem and she was right to cut that off, it still then just went right down.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the wrong colour. Wrong colour.
Yeah.
They know who their models are, don't they? They know the complexion of their model and everything like that. So, and they've worked with them for however many weeks, not 8 weeks because they've had boys and children, haven't they? But they've worked with them. They know what their models are like.
But again, it comes down, I know we don't know these secrets. When they say they practice at home, are they practicing? We still don't know whether they're practicing with the actual show material or whether they're practicing with something else.
Well, no, I asked Mark about this. Mark, who was on last year's, and
right.
basically they practiced. They were at home, not in the safe house when Mark did it, obviously. But he practiced. He chose. You choose the fabric, so you know what you're choosing, and then you don't have the fabric. You practice at home on a fabric that's, because Mark's got all these practice ones at home. Right, so like when he did his Victorian pajamas, he's got a copy of those at home and the ones he made for the show. So and they've got a mannequin padded out. Each of them got a mannequin padded out to the shape of their model. So they've got their model. They know what they look like. So it's sort of, I just wonder if them being, because when Mark did it, they filmed every weekend, so they had all week to practice. And I'm thinking that if they're in a safe house altogether, they may not have had a week between filming of episodes. They might have had a few days between. We haven't been, I don't know, it's what I'm presuming. But if they're in a hotel or in a safe house, not safe house, but you know what I mean, bubble.
The bubbles.
They're not on the run, John.
No, exactly, but they're in their bubble house. So there's nothing else for them to do, is there? So they might as well do an episode, have a day off, practice for 2 days, and then film on the Wednesday or something, and not have a whole week to get round it, sort of thing.
I think you're completely right, because some of the contestants did look a little tired. Fari looked tired this week. Didn't we say Raf looked ill almost last week?
Yeah.
So perhaps you're right. And I think,
I mean, what John was saying there as well about the models. I know we're jumping around a bit now, but I know poor Damien's wasn't great, but he had a model who was darker, and actually the oranges and the golds, I did text you and went, actually having it on that darker model, it helped a little bit, because it kind of just went with her skin tones. It still wasn't a great design, and it still was upholstery fabric. But the fact that it was orange and gold, it kind of had a bit of a redeeming feature with when the model actually got it on, even though it was awful.
But also, don't you think, I'm not belittling anyone from the north because I'm from the north, but Damien is a straight lad from Bolton. He's not going to know silk chiffons. He's not going to know twinkle chiffon. He's not going to know crepe satins, is he? So no. He's going to go by the colours that he likes and what he thinks would suit. And I also think that over the weeks, his made to measures fitted his model, and his model had boobs, his model had a waist, his model had hips. So he had all that to contend with, and each week his finished one, his design one, actually looked brilliant on the model. Not the best, maybe, but it fitted the model.
And I think that comes down in part because if you remember way back in the first episode, because we all thought he was going home in episode 1, but he was one of these blokes who started sewing, and he sews for himself and for his, I don't know if his girlfriend or wife. So unlike the others, or certainly for Raf, he's used to fitting onto a woman, and I think that's helped him get his fitting right, because he probably works with a female mannequin that reflects his wife's figure.
Mind you, we don't know what the dresses look like on his girlfriend, do we?
Don't,
They
no.
might look like
They might look like that one.
Bolton in a carpet or something.
It is a very good
Looks like he stepped off the tube.
It is a very good point you make, though, about Damien. You know, someone in the glam world, the flamboyant world, will they have better understanding of style, dress? You know, because where did he get that style from?
So what?
Where did he get that idea from?
I don't know. But you see, the thing is, that's where Raf, because of Raf's job, he works with fabric every day when he's dyeing it and printing it and painting it, things like that. So he'll have a better idea of how fabrics work than Damien when he's building his bike or changing a boiler or whatever he does in Bolton will have, because it's Raf's everyday job. Like, it'd be like making me make a dress and the man who's fitting my front doors. You know what I mean? It's like he's not.
Yeah, so it sort of came natural to Raf. What does it say on his Instagram? I mean, he's textile designer and toile for film. I think it says that. He makes toiles. Is that right?
But that, if he's making toiles, that's making that's making the dresses up for first.
Yeah, I think I'll just quickly check and then
just check what it says. I know I know he met my friend Dulcie just recently, and she's the costume supervisor on the new Matilda film, and she met him, so I don't know if he's going to do some dyeing or printing for her.
Says queer textile artist, sustainability advocate, film industry toiler.
Toiler, Toil.
ER. Yeah. Ooh. Which I thought a toile is where you make a shape of
a toile is where to me a toile is where you've got the pattern, somebody's drawn up the pattern, you make it out of calico or muslin and you fit it on your actress. That to me is a toile.
So he's in that industry, as you say. So I mean, let's go on to Raf's then. I mean, that what did you think of the gold and then his clever dyeing of the fabric?
Well, he pressed it, didn't he? Yeah. I thought, well, he's obviously had time because he painted all those feathers before he got there, hadn't he? He painted all the gold on the feathers. I don't know why he didn't take the cape off. I think unless he was hiding something underneath it, if she'd got cleared the catwalk and taken the cape off, it would have been a lot better, because it looked a bit heavy and bulky with the black cape. And I know the cape wasn't finished, because Patrick said, or one that held me, the cape's not finished.
It was different though, wasn't it? Did you find it striking and different, or different?
Well, yeah, it was different because everyone else had done a dress and he decided to do like a pantsuit thing. And but I also think that using that lame was fitting with the disco. But I could forgive him it not being a dress, not really having anything to do with Dreamgirls, because it looked like she was off down the disco. She was going to have a good night. She was.
Or she was in ABBA.
Yes.
But as you say, the brief was a 1970s disco dress.
Oh, so what's that got to do with Dreamgirls then?
Well, was it a dress or was it an outfit?
It's where it's all confusing, I think, isn't it?
Was it a dress or was it an outfit?
Yeah.
Because then the argument
Did it say dress?
If he didn't do a dress, then he should have been at the bottom, shouldn't he?
Yeah. Faris.
Oh, I liked hers. It was badly sewn.
Yes. But
I love that asymmetrical shoulder.
Yeah.
She's given herself a lot of work to do, trying to do it. But again,
she's been practicing.
Well, this is it, isn't it? You know, she's been practicing supposedly, and you know, she knew it was going to be tight. She'd said at the beginning, "Oh, this is going to be an issue." And okay, she did get it finished, and it was on. And out of all of them, again, I felt it was a bit more of a disco dress, you know, going down to the disco with that high slit and the asymmetrical arm and everything. You know, you could see that working in the disco there, but you know, there were still areas where she had struggled to pull that together, even though the overall look still held together at the end.
Yeah.
Well, I was feeling emotional during this because I've been an advocate for Damien from the beginning. And just seeing his develop and just going, I just felt for him.
There was an element of, even when he showed his pattern, straight away I text you and went, that's the 80s. It wasn't even the right pattern.
No, but then to him, if he's not been going, well, I don't know how old he is, but he won't have been through any of the 70s. You know what I mean?
No.
And he will have just thought it's just a disco outfit. He won't have even thought about, maybe that's what they wore in the Bolton discos or whatever. But when
maybe
when
just got there.
Yeah, one of them said, didn't they? Oh, this is the 80s, and didn't he say something like, well, it could be 70s, and they just gave Esme just gave him a look.
And that was again when you just like the judges again going, oh come on, just give him a break. He's a bloke who is giving it a damn good try here.
Yeah.
And even though he'd used the horrible fabrics and that, it came together. It was together. It wasn't falling apart. I mean, it didn't look great because of the bubbling and stuff, but you know, he'd give it a damn good go.
And he hadn't fitted it on her either.
No. And it wasn't too bad, given that he hadn't fitted it on.
Shoulder, wasn't it? That just needed lifting there. Oh, but I think that's, you see, again, that's a design thing, not a sewing thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he'd had to do if he worked like I did, the costume supervisor, you have a designer making the decision of what they're going to look like, and then you have it made or make it. So it's him not knowing what a 70s outfit looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, and also, I bet you any money, because they plan what they're doing weeks in advance. He must have really thought, I'm not going to be there by that week, so I don't actually have to worry about this one too much.
Yes. I forgot all about that. They have to put all their ideas in, regardless of where they think they're going to come, don't they?
Yeah, so you've bought the fabrics for all the episodes. Even if you go out to episode 1, you've bought all the fabrics for all the episodes.
Yeah. So you're right. You could have just, well, I'm not going to be there, and just knock up a design.
It also means he can't then go, oh, bugger, I'm going to be here, I'm going to change my pattern, because of course it's all gone through the process, hasn't it?
We've often said that, haven't we? Why have they not changed the fabric? Yes, that's a very, very good point.
Well, yeah, because the graphics team will have had to draw all, because the patterns they draw for the last one, the images are their own images, aren't they? They're not images off a pattern or anything, because they coloured it into what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And so... when you look at those last 5, did you go, yes, this person is...
Damien's dress was the final nail. I was so hoping he was going to do one of his fabulous dresses that were fitted, and then it was just the final nail. And although I didn't turn it off early, so to speak, I did kind of watch him go, watch him do the garment of the week, watch him go, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, it was so sick." And the credits rolled, and I got up and went and made myself a cup of tea. So I didn't even watch what's coming on next week's episode. I don't know what's happening next week, because I was kind of like, and I normally watch it to the bitter end until the news credits are then rolling at 10 o'clock. But I kind of went, "Oh, I'm going to go and put the kettle on," and then I realised I hadn't watched what was coming next.
Okay,
I don't watch those, because it, like, on my ladies were saying, "Oh, wait till next week, John. Serena's jacket is beautiful, and Rebecca has a hard time," and I don't want to know that this week.
No.
Right. Whose was your favourite then of that round, made to measure, John? Is there one just where you just went, yeah, I love that no matter what?
No, there were none that I loved. I'm afraid. I think Raf's was the most dramatic. I loved Farius asymmetrical. Obviously, poor old Damien, I knew he was anywhere. I hated Rebecca's dress, because not only was it horrible fabric and horrible, it was also a bit not dated, as it was a bit old-fashioned. Even in the 70s, I wouldn't have worn it, because it was too old-fashioned. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was a bit dated for me.
So when they announced Garment of the Week, what did you do?
I shouted very loudly.
You threw the slipper like Ting did. Did you throw the slipper, Ting, as well?
I didn't throw the slipper. It didn't go this far, because in my head I was like, they're going to give it to Raf or they're going to give it to Rebecca, because of everything they'd said about Rebecca's as well. But I thought that Raf might pip it, because, like you said, it was very striking, and the way he'd done it, and he stood out from everyone else's.
Yeah, in that case, Raf should have won. Raf should have won Garment of the Week. Not Garment. Yeah, Raf's one of those should have won. But I still think Serena's Child should have won Garment of the Week. See, because the other they can do them from the other.
They do. Yeah, they can. They've done it before from the other rounds, haven't they?
Yeah, like the Octopus or whatever. Was that last year? The Octopus that won. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, the garment of the week for this week was Serena's transformation.
So there we are. So we lost Damien, and our quarter-final goes into a semi-final, and we have Raf, Serena, Rebecca, and Fari.
Who's going?
My comment was that if Fari made the final, I wasn't watching it.
Oh, you won't be watching then?
According to my prediction, then Fari should go next week.
I think Rebecca will go next week.
Yeah, it's one of the other. I think it will be Rebecca.
I think Raf and Serena are safe. I think they'd have to do something major next week for them not to go through.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's, I've had a brief look. It is back to the 1940s.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
Is the theme, yes. And they've got to do something based on Dior. I don't know which challenge that was. And then parachutes for the transformation challenge.
Okay.
Lots of silk.
Yeah. But it's very fine habitat silk, isn't it? It's very difficult to make a costume out of.
Depends whether they've got to stick to the 1940s or whether they'll just go with a nice pair of MC Hammer pants.
Yeah. Of course.
Literal parachute pants.
Have you got a favourite to win, John? Or is that favourite gone?
No, you see, I still think Adam should be here for the final.
I liked Adam. Yeah. I think he just had a bad week and they went for it.
But there you see, they've all had a bad week, but his was, then they've been excused, you know what I mean? But I haven't got a favourite. I think Serena for the sewing skills, and I think Raf for design. So it depends on what you're judging on.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think, it depends whether you're looking at sewing or designing, because one is stronger than the other in each of those disciplines.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because, like I've said over the last few shows, that in previous years we've had one or two sewers who have been brilliant designers as well. And you kind of latch onto them going, I can't wait to see what they're going to produce.
Yeah.
But because they're separate this year, you've got Serena, who's a brilliant sewer, and Raf, who's a brilliant designer. We need them to come together and make something, really.
Yeah.
So that's a different show, I presume.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. That wraps up our quarter-final chat. Thanks very much, John, for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
Lovely having you and having your insight. As always, we would love to hear your comments, wouldn't we? We would love to hear what you think about some of the issues that we talked about Damien, about maybe the judging, and basically what was
Patrick socks.
Oh yes, you said that to me. What was it about his socks? I didn't.
Okay, if you're a dapper dresser, your socks always match your shoes. That's through etiquette, through years and years and years. Your socks always match your shoes, and he had dark trousers, brown shoes, and grey socks.
Oh my lord!
Oh, there we are.
Standards are slipping. Standards are slipping.
Give us your comments on his socks and what you liked. We love reading your comments. And just to let you know, for our semi-final, we're going to thank you all for commenting and for joining along. And we've got some prizes to give away for our last show. Yes.
Oh.
To thank you.
Might be this dress because I tell you it's heat-seeking.
Just to thank you viewers for coming back, because some of you write some really detailed comments and we love joining in with those comments and replying to those comments.
Yeah.
It's what it's all about. We've got the enjoyment, as I said at the beginning of the programme. We do love the programme. And there is going to be a Series 8, we think, don't we?
Holby City, that's all I'm saying.
On that note, we'll lovely leave you and we'll see you next week. Happy sewing, everyone.
Bye.